Hey everybody, welcome back to outer space. Captain D here, star pilot of the Tier 1 Ghost Stalker. Alright, so in this second part of my look at Xayah Legends of a Drift System, I wanted to go over all of the options you have in order to get fame points. And you need a certain number of fame points to win the game. Now this is kind of an open world sandbox game, and there are a lot of different paths to victory. And so I just wanted to go over those just to show people who maybe don't know about this game how many different ways there are to achieve victory. So I have decided to play up to 10 points. I was going to do 15, but I'm just going to play a short game. So we're just going to do up to 10 points here. So it's going to be a shorter game. I am an unknown pilot right now. By the time I become a proficient prowler, I will have completed the game. Hopefully my ship doesn't blow up before then. So I have gone through and spent my initial 4,000 credits on outfitting my ship. And here we have the Ghost Stalker. And I have decided to purchase a M22 engine, which gives me a D6 for movement. Yes, this is a roll and move game. However, the expansion, one thing it adds are these modifiers, these mod components here. And you can add these GTS engine mods orthogonally to your ship. And each one that you add, or orthogonally to your engine, each one that you add guarantees you at least a 2 for movement, up to your engine's upper limit capacity, which is 6. So every time I arm my engine to move, I will take one of my armed tokens here. I will place that on a use space on my engine. I will roll a d6 and I will add 2 to that. So I will always be able to move at least 3 up to 6. So they added a nice little way to mitigate some of the luck in the roll and move system for the game. Another thing I added to my ship is a charge shield. And this I can use 2 times, and it's going to give me a D6 worth of value for if something attacks me or I take damage. I can mitigate up to 6 points of damage when I use my shield. The final thing I added was another outfit from the expansion, and this is an extended cargo hold. So these are new outfits, and these outfits only take up 1 space of your hull. So you can just add it like that, and then you have kind of an outboard cargo area that you can store cargo in for transporting and to kind of complete an economic victory. The opposite side of this outfit is an additional place for damage. It's armor, and then you can also add armor to your ship like that. Now, one thing that you will notice that my ship does not have is a weapon system. I have no weapons on this ship, so for right now I'm going to be going pure peaceful mode, and hopefully that works out for me. Right now, the only NPC on the board is the Kiln. So the Kiln is an NPC from the expansion, and let's read a little bit about the Kiln here. All right, so the Kiln. The last bastion of civilization. The Kiln hovers in near orbit around the dying star. The Kiln was the system's mobile government capital. It would make its way between sectors, bringing peace and order, governance, and direction where it was most needed. During the turn, a snap decision was made to abandon the rest of the system and move into orbit around Near. Those aboard the Kiln have lost friends and families, but they keep hope alive that the turn can be reversed and the system restored. So this is kind of like a government body satellite space station type thing here, orbiting Near. And the main thing that you can do at Near is you can sell a resource called Ember, which is kind of a rare resource, another thing that was added to the expansion. So my ship here, the Ghost Stalker, I have decided to start at this spawn point. The nice thing that this game comes with are some really handy player aids. You have your turn order here, and then you also have your solo setup and a solo round summary. So you can easily keep track of everything you need to do on your turn, just really using these 3 cards and the back of the rules. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at right now when I go over how many different ways there are to attain victory in this game. So like I said, you need fame points to become a famous space captain. And one of the ways that you can gain fame is through gathering exploration tokens. And those are these question mark tokens on the board here. And those are set up every time you explore a new sector. If there is an exploration token there, you are going to add a token to that space. Now in the base game, the exploration tokens, I believe there were only 3. I think they were like blank, credits, and fame. I can't exactly remember. But in the new game, in the updated expansion mode, there are all different types of exploration tokens, and you collect 2 of them, and then at any time on your turn you can trade 2 in for 1 fame point. And for an example here, there are many different kinds of exploration tokens now. There are exploration tokens that allow you to get energy. That would basically allow you to extend your turn a little longer. You can recharge your impulse. Your impulse is a guaranteed way for movement without having to use your engine. Sometimes you might get damage. That's ice damage. Other times you might pick up different resources. Here are 3 different resources that you find while you are exploring. So there are a number of different exploration tokens now. Makes exploring the game a little more random and, in my opinion, a little more fun. All right, and the next way that you can get a fame point is by completing missions. Most missions, maybe all missions, are worth 1 fame point. The way you pick up a mission is you fly over the little mission symbol, and then you get to draw a random mission. So these, when you fly over them, the exploration tokens or the mission icons, those are just minor actions, and that means that you can go ahead and pick up your token or your mission and then continue with your movement as long as you have some movement points left. So the mission cards, of which there are a lot, especially if you have the expansions, and they basically come in 2 major flavors. You have your bounty missions and your good missions. If you take any of these orange missions, you're going to become an outlaw. You're going to rack up your bounty, and you're going to become a target for the NPCs or from other players if you are playing a competitive game. And these will usually have you trying to smuggle goods in and out of planets, maybe trying to assassinate a certain ship. And they will give you different kinds of things you have to accomplish. And then at the bottom here, you will get the kinds of rewards that you will be receiving. And then the good missions are usually kind of pick up and deliver missions or escorting missions, that kind of thing. And they will usually have you fly from one place to another, doing something in between. And then you will get the rewards down at the bottom, in addition to getting your 1 fame point for completing it. The missions sometimes are quite similar, but they all have different flavor text. They all have just enough things that are different to make them not seem too redundant. But they are a lot of fun to read and to just kind of like create your own story as you are accomplishing those missions. A third way to get a fame point is combat. So right now my combat options are pretty limited because there are no NPCs on the board and no other players. But as NPCs are introduced, and or if you were playing competitively, other ships, you could fight, and if you blow up a tier 1 ship, you get 1 fame point. A tier 2 ship, you get 2, and then a tier 3 ship, you get 3 fame points for doing that. So the NPCs I have set up over here in my little NPC corner. And like I said, those are not out on the board yet. We haven't discovered the sector from which they spawn. But the different NPCs are, in addition to the Kiln, we have the Scoundrel, we have the Enforcer, and we have the Merchant. And then you also have this NPC stats. Now you can play an easy game and just keep it on side A here, which has easier stats, or you can play a more difficult game and play with the side B stats, or you can also start the game with side A and then say once one player gets a tier 2 ship or a tier 3 ship, then we're going to flip it over to side B to make the game a little more difficult. I'm probably just going to stick with side A here. Now, as those NPCs come out on the board, and you're going to generate their AI by using these cards here. Each of the different NPCs has 2 cards, and each of the cards has 2 different kind of like AI behaviors that they will take for that entire game. So the Scoundrel here could be a bully, it could be a usual suspect, it could be hateful, or it could be an opportunist. This is what I had the last time I played, and that opportunist behavior means that it always targets the player. If damaged or carrying cargo, it moves and attacks the player. So that pretty much limited how I played last time, because this would simulate a player who was just all about killing things that had cargo or damage. It was going after easy targets, and so I avoided picking up any cargo for that entire play. So I basically went for a like an exploration victory, or tried to do missions, and if I happened to get some cargo, I really wanted to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So the NPCs are somewhat limited, but they can add quite a bit of fun to the game. Another way to win the game is through an economic victory, and that is through trading. So the expansion adds this new economy board, and at the beginning of the game you roll a d6 for each of the resources. You have, what is it, like cyber, terra, hollow, spice, and plasma, and then there's also the super rare resource that you have to find out in space, this ember. But in the base game, when you bought a resource, you bought it from a planet, and then you could take it to another planet that needed it, or that wanted to buy it. Sometimes those 2 planets would be right next to each other, and it would create just a super easy way to generate credits and fame. And it made an economic victory really quite easy and kind of boring. But they added this really simple, intuitive, and I think quite interesting economy system to the game. So now when you buy a resource, you go to the planet that sells it, but you buy it from the board here. So you can only buy 2 helio, you could buy 3 spice, you could buy 2 plasma, you could buy as much cyber as you can hold, and you have to put them in an empty spot on your ships. I have this cargo hold here that I can use. So you buy from the board. So let's say I bought 3 cargo, and then you would sell it on another planet. But when you sell it, it doesn't go back to the board. It goes to the game stock, the game supply. But every time you sell it, it generates the next kind of resource onto the board. So every time you sell Terra, you generate an equal amount of hollow. Every time you sell hollow, you generate an equal amount of spice. Now eventually you're going to be buying like the last of the plasma, and whenever there are 0 resources of a certain type, that resource is considered to be in demand. Then you add some money, some credits to this spot, where you get a bonus if you fill that demand. So really a really cool system that keeps an economic flow. It keeps an ebb and flow of supply and demand going without adding too much complication. Hopefully I explained it right. I might have made a couple mistakes in the explanation, but you get the idea. You buy from the board, you sell to the stock, and then it generates the next type of resource. Additionally, right now, there is a title that's available. So this is another way that you can get fame or fame points, is by obtaining these titles. Now the titles, they come out at certain points during the game depending on how many fame points you have. When you hit one of these yellow spots, you draw a title at random. But this title comes out at the beginning of the game, or a random title comes out at the beginning of the game. And right now, the title is The Economist. Greed is good. To claim this title, be the first player to take a sell action that generates 4 or more cargo cubes of a type that is in demand. So to play the economic game, I'm going to want to create some demand by removing cubes, buying them, and then getting the resource that generates those cubes, buying those, selling them, and then having them generate whatever needs to be in demand. And that will give me a title, and that will give me 1 fame point. These titles that you can gain are worth 1, sometimes 2, and sometimes up to 3 fame points. The 3 fame point titles are pretty rare. Another way that you can gain fame is by buying a new ship. So right now I have this really small Ghost Stalker Tier 1 ship without any weapons, and I want to pretty quickly upgrade to a Tier 2 ship so I can get some weapons just in case I need them. A Tier 2 ship costs 5,000 credits. And so once I buy a Tier 2 ship, I will get some fame points, and then I will also get that new ship that I can start using. Another way that you can gain fame points is just by becoming wealthy. You know, wealth generates fame. That is true in our world as it is in outer space. And so you can buy a fame point for 5,000 credits. One thing that you can do that I actually can't do in the solo game, I don't think, is an act of kindness. If at any time another player is stranded somewhere in space, they have no energy, they have no way of moving around, you can help replenish their energy and help their ship get to safety, and you can get a fame point for doing that. One other way is pure luck. You know, a lot of star pilots rely on luck. That is true in all forms of media that we watch, read. You know, Han Solo, the stainless steel rat, those guys are all incredibly lucky. And so anytime you roll a natural 20, for any reason whatsoever, you gain a fame point. There are also these events. So sometimes when you are moving up the fame track, you're going to hit these purple pink spots there. And every time you do, you're going to draw a event that is going to change the game in some way. And some of these are, when they come out, will tell you of a way to gain a fame point. And finally, another thing added to the expansion. The events were also added to the expansion. But one final thing are these dead worlds. So right now we have a dead world on the board called the Ruins of Drelmoth. Drelmoth, the once a bustling manufacturing giant, now lies still and heavy. Layers of ash and ice intermingle on its scarred surface. The unions of Drelmoth were locked in an eternal Cold War, an ever-increasing arms race over subsidies, wage gaps, and tax breaks. Many a retired smuggler has Drelmoth to thank for his livelihood. So on these dead worlds are these relics, and you can pick up a relic token, put it in one of your cargo holds, and then take that back to the kiln, where the kiln will sift through the debris to find what you have discovered on these dead worlds. And each one of these is going to be worth either a fame point or something else. This is 3,000 credits, or 2,000 credits and 2 spice. 2,000 credits and a mod for one of your outfits. You know, a fame point or 3,000 credits. So as you can see, you can get different things depending on what you find on the dead worlds. And that is all the different ways to get fame points. As you can see, there are really a ton of different ways. This really is a open world exploration game, and with many pathways to victory. And so just right now on my first turn, because I want to get money, and I have a good cargo hold on my ship, I probably want to try to get some economic action going on, but there are no planets out right now that I can buy or sell from. So I also want to explore to find more planets. So right now what I would probably do on my first turn, and I would go out, I would move out, probably pick up a mission, because that's a good way to get some credits, because again, I want to try to get 5,000 credits quickly to upgrade my ship. And then I would probably start to move over in this direction, probably picking up this exploration token on the way, hoping that I don't get blasted to smithereens in these salvage sectors. And then move into this dead world to pick up this exploration token and one of these relics, fly that to the kiln, see what I discovered, and see if I can start working my way up to 3,000 or 5,000 credits. Actually, there is a final way of getting a fame point that I forgot about. You have these gates here. Now, these gates connect to each other. They are teleportation spaces that you can move from one to another. The first player to activate a gate gains a fame point. If there are not two gates, if there's only one on the board, then it's kind of it's one that's not working correctly. It's a malfunctioning gate. You can still trigger it to get that fame point, but then you roll a d20 and you spawn on the spawn point that is the closest to what you rolled. But again, that is a way to possibly roll a 20 and get that luck fame point. So lots of things to do on your first turn here. This game, there's never a lack of things to do in Xia Legends of the Drift System, which is one of the main reasons why I and so many people really enjoy playing this game. So all right, next video, we're gonna come probably at the end of my game. I'll talk about some of my adventures and give some of my final thoughts. So all right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.